Good day, everybody. This is Morsels of Thought, 1871, Yin Yang in California. I am trying to bring you morsels of a thought of what I hope is wisdom, in the hopes that we will know the right things to do for ourselves. And we've got people who are wise, like Larry J. Namer here, who wrote a book, Off Script. Can you see it? Off Script. Recipes for Success. Never follow the crowd. Um, yeah, national bestseller. Okay. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, God, I promise. Oh, Jesus Christ. Did we do spare ribs? Um, I can do spare ribs. Okay. So I forgot to give you the copy of the spare ribs, but this is what we're going to look at right now. Now, Larry J. Nimmer is actually a really good cook, too. He's a good chef and a very good chef. In Chinese style spare ribs, he says, I learned this one working in the kitchen of House of King, an old school Chinese restaurant in Brooklyn. Ah, okay. Ingredients: 1 rack of St. Louis style cut ribs divided into 2 even pieces, a 1/4 cup of soy sauce, a 1/4 cup of hoisin sauce. Just about every market has this now. A 1/4 cup of pineapple or orange juice, 1 teaspoon of Chinese 5-spice powder, pinch of white pepper, pinch of garlic salt, 1/4 cup brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of honey, 1 tablespoon of sesame oil, 1 tablespoon of red food coloring. Mix all the ingredients together and add to a gallon-sized freezer bag. Add the 2 pieces of ribs. Marinate at least 4 hours. Preheat oven to 400 degrees. When up to temp, place ribs on the middle rack of the oven and roast for 35 minutes. Remove and let cool for 5 minutes. Slice into individual ribs and plate. Serve with Coleman's English mustard and Gold's duck sauce. Eee. Oh my God, that looks so good. And then we have New York style shrimp egg rolls. Cooking became therapeutic. He said this was a good idea too. So, egg rolls. Let's try egg rolls now. Cooking became therapeutic for me throughout the years, he says. Here is a little therapy, quote unquote, from my years with Manhattan Cable, a favorite shrimp egg rolls. New York style shrimp egg rolls. Okay. New York style shrimp egg rolls ingredients: 1 package of egg roll wrappers. Most supermarkets have these now. 1/2 pound of cooked medium shrimp, each cut into 4 pieces. A 1/4 head of Napa cabbage. 1 stalk celery cut into very small pieces. 1 handful of chopped bean sprouts, fresh, not canned. 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. 2 tablespoons of light soy sauce. 1 egg whisked. For cooking, 4 cups of vegetable oil. Note: for this recipe, buy the egg roll wrappers as they are as good, if not better, than any you could make at home. Then you should watch a YouTube video on how to assemble egg rolls, as there is simply no way it will work if I tell you how in writing. Mix all the filling ingredients together in a bowl. Lay out an egg roll wrapper and place 2 heaping spoonsful of the filling near the middle. Put a drop more to the part closest to you. Roll as you learned from the video. Dip your fingers into the whisked egg and seal. Then place another wrapper down and roll and seal. Having two wrappers is key to getting crispy egg rolls. To cook, heat the oil and toss in a piece of leftover egg roll wrapper to make sure the oil is hot enough to fry them. Cook the egg roll until light brown. Cook the egg roll until light brown. Ay, ay, ay. That's what he gave me these for. And then remove and dry on a paper towel. When they are all halfway cooked, cook them in the hot oil until they are a nice golden brown. Remove and place on paper towels. Then cut each in half and place in a serving plate. On a serving plate. Frying them twice is what gives them the absolute crispiness. That's exactly right. Serve with some homemade English mustard. Make it from powder and let stand at least 10 minutes. I use Coleman's. Also, serve with store-bought duck sauce for dipping. That's what all he says. That's what all he says. All he says. These are so good looking. I could eat them myself. Because, yeah. Anyway. So, move the bookmark. Open page. Gazpacho would be next week. Let's do gazpacho next week. Keep the bookmark here. And he's got some pictures of him with Tony Bennett. You remember Tony Bennett? That's Larry J. Namer and Tony Bennett. Yay. And this is him and supermodel Claudia Schiffer. Claudia Schiffer. There we go. That's him. Doesn't look like him. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, it is him. It is. Okay. And we get another couple pictures with Manny Pacquiao. With Manny Pacquiao, boxing champ. I've heard of him. Wait, where is it? Here. With Manny Pacquiao. And then him and Vladimir Putin, back when hair was in. Him and Vladimir Putin. He met Vladimir Putin. Wow, neat. So, if you like this show, which I don't see how anyone couldn't, like and subscribe. And let me see where it is. Please like and subscribe me on YouTube and also come look for me on Substack. On Substack, I am Yin Yang 31. On YouTube, I am Ying Orange 99. Okay. The next challenge was piracy. Wow, excuse me. Which at the time was rampant on the market. This media for profit world was all new, and there was not a body of law that effectively protected ownership like that which exists in most of the world. The government was actually actively enacting laws in an attempt to stop piracy as China, but because they were new, the enforcement was yet to catch up. With Hello Hollywood, we soon found out that as for as many stations that had signed a real license with us, there were pirate operations that were showing out our show without any license at all. Rather than beat our heads against the wall trying to stop the piracy, we took a lesson from Abby Hoffman, who wrote Steal This Book. And we called the pirates, who were easy to find, and said that we would not report them to the government on one condition. They had to wait 2 days from when we first broadcast the episode before they offered it up. And they had to report to us the viewership numbers in a format we specified. This increased our viewership, which in turn we sold to advertisers and made money from the audience the pirates delivered. The pirates were happy to get a high quality show for free with just the simple task of staying out of legal trouble. For all of us, it was a win-win. When we started M.O.A.T Global Entertainment, we built a strong team in a very deliberate way. In Los Angeles, we opened an office and took in interns from the local universities, including USC, UCLA, Pepperdine, and Loyola. We only took folks who were born and raised in mainland China and wanted to return there after graduation. From that select group, we took the best and brightest and gave them entry level jobs. From there, they returned to China, and the best work went into our Beijing office. So we had a team of not only bilingual, but some more important, bicultural folks. This was invaluable in helping me learn how to create for a country and culture I didn't grow up in. That's excellent. That really came into play when we created several original shows for China. The first was Modern Life, which I would describe as Friends meets Big Bang Theory. Take the Friends concept and modernize it so there are cell phones and the internet, and then put it into a new show where being a nerd was cool. Okay, so Ross was kind of nerdy on Friends, but I'm talking about the whole cast of characters. The business goal was to help Bacardi, the liquor company, expand their brand messaging by integrating them into the story. Unfortunately, their message was too complex to get across in a regular television ad slot. For one thing, China didn't have much history insofar as mixed drinks. You went to a restaurant and the waiter would bring you a beer or rice wine. That was usually it. But Bacardi smartly realized that the Chinese in general liked to drink and figured if they could expose them to mixed drinks, the opportunity in the market was huge. To do this, they would build bartending schools and train a new generation of bartenders in making mixed drinks. It was a good idea, but they faced yet another problem. Apparently, being a bartender was not a profession that Chinese folks aspired to, so we had to get that point across when creating the story. In our show, one of the friends, quote unquote, discovered bartender school and decided to go. In each episode, he returned home from classes and told the others about everything he learned. Now, he never made a drink in the show. We just built him up to be an expert in Western cocktails and then had him show the how, quote unquote, part either on the website or at a restaurant or club openings where Bacardi would be the liquor provider. I have to admit that getting the China brand team to understand subtlety was a challenge for our team. They thought that a Bacardi bottle should be visible in every scene, and they went so far to think it should have. They went so far as to think it should have been sitting on the nightstand when we showed one of the characters who was just waking up. Thank goodness we prevailed and the product placement was kept to a bare minimum. We ran the 10 episodes on some of the biggest digital platforms where we would reach the most affluent, educated urban audiences. The series drew over 50 million viewers, and while we can't take total credit for making mixed drinks a regular part of Chinese life, we certainly can claim some of the credit. It became clear early on that not all of our non Chinese executives were suited for very unstructured environments like the China media scene was in the early years of the transition. While we hired seasoned folks who had good backgrounds that came out of big agencies, most were not able to adapt to the environment. Frankly, the people, money, and other resources were nowhere near the levels they were used to. It takes an entrepreneurial spirit to survive a startup, and even more than that, to survive a startup in another culture and country. I have to say something about this because my culture is Chinese. Even though I grew up in the United States and spent less than a year in China, well, in my entire life, I've spent less than 2 years in China, and I'm pretty old. Um, the culture is very different. You live in a high density place, so everything you say has high cultural context. In other words, what you say means a lot. Anything you say, any word you say, any subtlety in it it means a lot. So everything you say is taken, every grain of what you say is taken to mean something. And if you don't follow it to the example that you think they think you should do, then you are less integrous in their opinion. So it's really hard to adapt from a low cultural context, low context communication style to a high context communication style. Okay. Thus far, Larry Nimmer says, I'd say that the biggest hit we have had in China has been Return to the Village of Good Fortune. One of the most interesting things we did within that series was take a position against shark finning. Certainly, generally, we stay away from political statements, but some things are too big to simply ignore. For a little background, the Chinese are known for eating just about every kind of animal and every part of it, but when it comes to shark fin, they do something astounding. Serving shark fin soup at a family affair, such as a wedding, is a status symbol and an expression of wealth and well being reserved for very few. Only an elite group could afford it. However, in the past 30 years, as China prospered and more people joined the middle and upper class, the serving of shark fin soup remained a demonstration of newfound prosperity. The only difference was that now there were hundreds of millions of people who could afford it. This caused a problem. This caused a problem. Before long, the number of sharks killed for their fins exceeded 80 million in a year. The whole thing was puzzling to me. For one thing, I didn't think shark fin had any real flavor whatsoever. And second, I discovered that they'd catch the sharks, cut off and keep the fin, then they would toss the disabled shark back in the water. Why they didn't keep it and eat it made no sense at all. It's because uh, I'll tell you why after I get a drink of water. Um, it's because it is because sorry. This is what happens when you go live. Sometimes you cough on stage, which is not good. Oh, and so I feel like a smoker. I'll tell you the reason. The reason is that the shark meat is a whole different flavor than the shark fin, and the texture and consistency of shark meat is considered way too high. It's a carnivore. So sharks are carnivores that eat other animals, so their meat is less tender and flaky than other fishes. They're not a fish anyway, they're a different category of animal. And that's the worst thing. My stepdad actually would catch a shark and throw it away. And the way he did it was to scream and throw it at the same time. I don't understand why he did that. But that's weird because we used to catch sharks all the time in the Golden Gate Bridge, under the Golden Gate Bridge. We used to catch sharks all the time. We'd be trying to catch fish, and the sharks would always get our bait. So, in a boat. So, and we didn't wear life jackets, which is kind of weird. I don't know why we didn't. I think we were going to put them on if we were starting to drown. Um, okay. Larry Namer's. Oh, let's say this is Larry J. Namer's book, Off Script. If you can see the word Off Script right there. And he is talking about his business ventures in China. He was invited there. Oh, by the government. Excuse me. Oh my God. Yes, I just got up. In an attempt to tiptoe around the issue, the shark fin, the young kids in our series were purposely very environmentally conscious, as I found most young people in China to be. So they were appalled when Grandma wanted to serve shark fin soup at her birthday celebration. As a solution, they found a chef in Beijing who created faux shark's fin soup out of chicken bones, and they had him make the soup, which actually fooled their grandma and all of her guests. I guess the show had an impact because not long after that, hotels in some of the big cities decided to stop serving shark's fin soup. On one trip out of Beijing to a city in western China, ooh, I've never been there, I was served what I thought looked like popcorn shrimp. It had a sweet and sour sauce and tasted quite good, except the texture was very gelatinous. When I inquired as to what it was, I was surprised to learn that I had a plate of battered and fried chicken knees in front of me. I didn't even know chickens had knees, but more important, I wanted to figure out how to get the good parts of the chicken. Another of my least favorite things to eat in China was pig's ear salad. Yeesh. I don't think I need to say more. Dang. Uh, these are all foods I've eaten, and it's funny that Larry J. Namer acts just like the typical white American would react that I have seen in China. Although I have seen white American men be so talented in doing the rhythmic. It's like a hip hop. There's a rhythmic type of poetry with a lot of slang and humor and rhyming and click clack, the clacker, the wooden clacker, it's the same color as this actually, and cluck, 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 I am a nice woman. Da, 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 da. You know, it would be rhythmic. I've seen a Chinese man, I mean, an American man do that. And it was very interesting. I mean, he grew up there or something, or he learned it or something. Anyway, while I never grew accustomed to pig's ear salad, so you see, another of my least favorite things to eat, remember how? Okay. While I never grew accustomed to pig's ear salad, one custom I caught on to rather quickly was their way of conducting business. Whenever I went to a meeting with a TV station or media group, it inevitably started out well and was productive. Then, when we reached the point of agreeing to do business together, another quote executive would enter the meeting, always wearing a bad gray suit, and he would listen to what we were agreeing to and then give it his blessing. The meeting would always end with him inviting me out to dinner and drinks. Since respect and tradition are so important in China, I could never refuse. So we would go out, usually me and Jean, our business partner, Jean or Jean, and then get invited to a drinking dinner. On their side, there would be 4 or 5 people who would toast, quote, the honored guest, end quote. Here's how it went down. When we made a toast, they would have one drink, but individually they would toast us, and we found ourselves having 5 for their one. That's funny, actually. 5 for their one. We're on the last page of this chapter, the China Years, chapter 15, and we'll continue it next week. Oh my gosh, this is so funny, some of it. Um, no, I guess the chicken knees weren't that funny, but I grew up eating those. I grew up eating those, and they must have deboned the chicken feet for him. That's what it is. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Old Kinderhook.